All right, so welcome back to the Conversational Healing. This is episode 2. So thanks for tuning in. I have 3 lovely ladies that are participating today. And we're just going to start from the right. If you can go ahead and introduce yourself.
Oh, hi, Alana.
Katrina.
Teresa.
So these ladies are going to go ahead and talk about the topic of self-doubt. And so we all go through it in different ways. So we're just going to kind of explore and talk about, the different ways that we deal with it in our daily lives. So I'm just going to kind of throw out a question. So, think about, I guess, back in your life, starting from childhood, and think about a situation that you came across that you kind of was like, okay, I don't think I could do this, or, I don't even want to grow up. Because I don't think I could even adult. Right. You know what I mean? Like sometimes we put so much pressure on ourselves. But we'll start off with Alana, right? Mm-hmm. We'll start off with you, and we'll just kind of just think about, back in your childhood, just moments where you can relate to having self-doubt.
Well, I think for me anyway, self-doubt, it has a lot to do with confidence.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
Your confidence in conjunction with the experiences that you have. Mm-hmm. Now, if you were in this nurturing environment where everyone's like, yeah, you can do anything you put your mind to, what have you, whatever, just really nurtured you and really, pushed you forward, then, self-doubt isn't something you came upon until you kind of maybe interacted with people outside of that circle.
Correct. Yep, you got a good point. Yeah.
For me, the first time I ever recall remembering self-doubt was like first grade.
Oh, wow. Okay, so talk a little bit about what you went through.
I mean, it wasn't like, life shattering.
Of course
but
not,
it was definitely something where it was like, wait, can I do this? I don't know if I can do this. I was in a school play, and, I was always in school plays, but at this time I was like the lead role. Mm-hmm. And it was like, I can do this, it ain't nothing, whatever. And I get out there and then, we're in rehearsals and I'm like, wait a minute. Mm. Yeah, this is just me, by myself.
Right.
No one else. I have to do this alone. And I think when you feel that you're alone, that's when the self-doubt comes in.
Yep.
But once you know that you have the support of your family, even if it's not they're not physically there, and they're not necessarily, in their presence is not there. Right, you know that they're supporting you, whether it's they're doing lines with me. They did lines with me. My teacher said, it really dawned on me when she said, we will take this part from you.
Oh, wow. Okay.
If you do not get it together.
Now, was that in first grade or was
that was in
later?
First grade?
Oh, wow.
And I was like, what? You want to take her from? No.
Yes.
That's not going to happen. But then I had a conversation, I think, with my mom. And she said to me, this role you're playing and the person that you're playing is important to you. And you feel that there's something important that you need other people to understand. I was playing Harriet Tubman.
Okay, great.
And I had to sing Precious Lord in front of the whole school.
Wow.
And I said, once my mom said that to me, I was like,
it put it into
this
perspective.
This is my job. I have to do this.
Yeah.
Because my mom is depending on me. My grandmother's depending on me. Classmates are depending. Harriet Tubman is depending on me. Like, that's how I took it. And once I knew all those people, the spirit of Harriet Tubman was behind me and supporting me, I could not be stopped.
Amen.
So I feel like when you have a support system, whether it's physical or it's in deeds or it's in spirit, when you know that is there, then self-doubt has no place.
Amen.
But if you don't have that, that's when it comes. I mean, we all have our moments, but then we find that whatever it is, that spirit, that person, that act, that deed that leads us to find that confidence again.
Now, I am glad that you actually brought up the fact that, we, as in our last conversation, we talked about support, right? And support, I think, is the most important thing. Support is a really important tool that I think, is probably taken for granted. You know, we just don't understand how we can pour into each other just simply by being there, encouraging, you know, giving an encouraging word. So Katrina, you know, think back in your childhood as well. You know, anytime that you can relate to having self-doubt and not feeling like you maybe your self-esteem was low, or just that you couldn't do something, and then just talk a little bit about how you were able to overcome that.
Good question. I think for me, growing up in Danbury, my family and I, we lived in more of the suburbs of Danbury and not really in town or downtown Danbury. So I grew up with predominantly white kids. And of course, I'm black, so I look different. My hair was different, my lips, my eyes, my nose, my skin color, everything was different. And I got picked on it about it. And so, you know, you wanted to start fitting in. So, you know, you start doing the hair flipping, you know, try to get your hair straight as you can so you can be accepted. And of course, that's self-doubt because I want to be liked. And so I'm going to have to play this part. So can I touch your hair? You know, the hair was long, you know, can I touch the hair? You know, how does your hair grow? So all these questions, you know, really start taking a toll on me as this little black girl amongst these white people, these white girls and boys. Picked on my lips because they were bigger. They picked on my nose because it was wider.
So your self-doubt was more in your identity.
More identity, yes. It was more
Okay.
More identity because you wanted to be accepted, and I just wanted to be who I was, and I couldn't be because I had these people telling me I had to look a certain way, or because my hair was a little more kinky, that wasn't accepted, you know. So
do you think that the voices, the negative voices that made you feel you know, that you needed to fit in, were those voices louder than the ones around you, aka your support system, your family, your sisters? You know, were those voices louder? Were they spewing, you know, more consistently than your support team?
Honestly, when I was a little child, you just wanted to be fit in.
Okay.
You want your peers
so
to
it wasn't that one outweighed the other.
Yeah.
It just was important to fit in,
it
basically.
Was just important to fit in. When I really start opening up is when I went to Del State. That's because I saw people that looked like me. They had my color, they had my hair, they had my nose, my lips, my eyes. They had it. So I was more acceptable, you know, there because it was predominantly black. And so that's where I still had self-doubt because now I'm this, you know, suburban girl from Danbury, Connecticut, which no one has ever heard of. And so now I'm trying to fit in again.
Right.
You know, now trying to switch off the white girl mentality and talk and all that. And now, you know, try to feel like, you know, I got a little swag and, you know, they like me because I can, you know, go to the parties with them and do what they do. So it was, again, another identity crisis. But as I get older, I'm definitely more confident in my skin. I love my lips. I love my nose. I love everything about me. So
Right.
I'm good now. I'm good.
Nice.
I'm good.
So Teresa, yeah, just think about growing up. And I think last conversation, you know, you touched on how you felt like you didn't have a voice growing up just because, you know, being in a West Indian type family, I can totally relate to that. So just think about, you know, growing up and how you might have felt like, you know, you doubted yourself. I don't, you know, maybe you had to measure yourself up against somebody, but just talk a little bit about that and how you're able to overcome it, or if you did or not.
Going back to growing up with Caribbeans is just, they love you. It is not intentional to make you feel that way, but that's all they know how to do. So I remember always being compared to my like smarter friends. Like, you don't see Nadine going out and doing that, and she's your age. So to this day, I still compare myself to everything. So a lot of times throughout my life, if I think about, I just always, my self-doubt comes from me comparing myself to other people.
Gotcha.
So whether it's in school or whether being a cheerleader or a dancer in college to my career, I always feel like I'm always comparing myself to other people, not realizing that I'm just as good. Or
You're good enough, right? You are good enough.
So I just do think it comes from like as a child, just being compared to my friends, even in a contrary to positive things, but like you're not gonna go out there like this one and that one and be like, you know, it's just always a comparison.
Right.
My whole life we were always compared, and you don't see this one's child doing that, so it gets embedded into your brain that, you know, I don't see this one doing that, or they're doing that, but I'm not, or they're succeeding in this way. And also it comes from what we define as success.
Yes, let's talk about that actually.
Because, you know, coming up in a Christian West Indian home, success was getting married and having kids. And you know, going to school and getting your degree. That was considered this a success. And, you know, just succeeding in a conference and getting this position or that. You know, not the small successes in life weren't really looked upon. It was like looking at the bigger successes. And that's why I probably felt self-doubt when I was pregnant with Jada, because I felt like I'm a failure. I'm not married.
Wow.
You know what I mean? I'm embarrassing my pastor mom.
Interesting.
So that led to a lot of the problems that I had towards, you know, as growing up and as an adult, because me comparing my life made me make decisions trying to keep up with the Joneses.
With the Joneses, yeah.
Not financially, but the look.
Right. Just in general.
Right, just in general. Well, I can't be preacher's daughter and not be married, so let me get married.
Wow.
I needed to get married. But I doubted that I was a teacher.
Right.
I was successful. I went straight from school to the classroom. But instead of that being defined as success, I was comparing myself to the wrong things, because that was what was embedded to me.
So you were comparing, let's say for instance, you know, were you comparing yourself to somebody that was already in the position per se? Like when you became a teacher?
Well, as a teacher, I would compare my classroom to others, but you know, it's not until like the later in my career where I feel like I'm just that.
Yeah. I hear you. Because you know what? You were comparing your 6 months on the job to somebody's 15 years on the job, you know? And, you know, really, if you do that, you know, you're kind of setting yourself up to just not appreciate where you are in life, because you just can't do that.
And even to this day, as a literacy coach, when I go to these meetings and I hear all the wonderful things that other people are doing in their school, it took my supervisor to come in and like applaud everything I was doing for me to be like, oh, I am doing a good job. And that's when I started really functioning in my position.
Oh, that's good.
I needed that affirmation, like I'm doing what I'm supposed to do, because I'm listening to everyone else and, oh, I'm doing this, I'm doing that, but I'm like, well, I'm not doing that.
Yeah.
And it took my supervisor to come in and give me a satisfactory and just applaud all of my efforts.
Right. Yeah.
She even knows, like, I'll talk to her, I don't think I'm doing my job, but I really am. And I think growing up with such critical parents, mom, I love her. I love my mom with all my heart and soul.
Yeah.
But it always makes me, like, second guess my abilities.
Got you. So now let's kind of segue into you know, those of us that have children now. So, you know,
you have the kids at school.
You know, and even if you're, like you said, because you work in the school system, so even think about that. Because sometimes I can actually look at somebody and, you know, and how they act and kind of relate in my head, like I know what they're thinking. You know what I'm saying? Like you just could kind of see the low self-esteem in that moment, or you can kind of just look at them and be like, sis, I know what you're going through. So, you know, but do we recognize that in our children though? You know, are you able to like just think about your kids? Or, you know, other people's kids that you've come across. Are you able to look at them and be like, you know what? When I was your age, I did the same thing. Or are you able to like relate to your kids? You know, I'll start off with you, Katrina. You know, is there ever a moment where you think to yourself, you know what, let me just back up a little bit, because I totally understand what my daughter's going through. And then you take a different approach, because you don't want her to have self-doubt.
No.
So talk a little bit about maybe a scenario that you come across with your daughter, and how you were able to pivot and be like, you know what, I know exactly what you're going through.
Right. I think it would be having those tough conversations about self, about loving yourself, confidence, all those things that come with growing up, and being a single mom, whatever. You have to sometimes take that hat off and become someone totally different, but still be present for her. And so for me, growing up, I didn't have talks. We didn't talk about sex. We didn't talk about STDs, pregnancies, emotional connections, what it means to be with someone you really care. We didn't have those talks. And so I had to take myself out of how my mother raised me and say it's okay for me to raise my daughter totally different. And when I figured that out, it was like godsend for me, because I'm like, she really wants to talk to me, and it's okay that we talk about sex. It's okay we talk about a boy that's eyeing her. He better not try nothing, but I'm glad that she can come and talk to me about those things. So sometimes it's a tough conversation, and then sometimes it's a smooth conversation, and then sometimes it's the conversation where I'm scratching my head like, you knew better. Like, come on, man, you knew better. But for her to even come to me, to have that trust in me, and as her mother, as a friend, as whatever she sees me, it's 100% okay with me. So I just have to do the opposite of what I grew up with, and knowing that it's okay for me to put a spin on our relationship, for her to be able to trust me and come to me and talk to me.
I like that. And you had noticed, you had mentioned, something about just being able to, when you finally came to that point, how long do you think it actually took? Because remember, when we first have kids, we're like mimicking exactly what we did, but then when we see it doesn't quite work on them as it did on us, like we don't have the same formula. How long did it actually take you to realize that you did need to pivot in your approach?
Honestly, I want to say probably in her toddler, we'll say toddler school age. Only because, let me back up, my mother was way older when she had me. She was in her 40s when she had me. I had my daughters in my 20s, so I was still a baby adult. You know what I mean? A baby adult, but my mother was very well established in her career, in her marriage, in the church. So she kind of, she was doing her thing when, I was born. But for me, I was 22, so it kind of was like an aha moment that I'm younger, I have a little more energy, I see things. I don't try to, hide behind church or try to please people. So for me, when she was young, I really started. I'm like, I don't have to do what my mother did with me. I could put a spin on it and be okay with it. So she was young. I would have to say school age. We'll say school age.
That's
so
good.
When she got to third, fourth grade, she started noticing things growing and happening and things like that. So dive right in there.
That's good. That's good. What about you, Alana? So you working in the school system, just think about, just kids that you come across,
I mean, definitely working in the South Bronx, you see a lot of self-doubt because you have a lot of children. I mean, you have children that come from hardworking parents that try to instill in their children the best that they know how. And you have parents that don't necessarily work, but they still try to instill those positive, ideals into their children. And then you have children that have no clue because either they're raising themselves, or their big sister or big brother or cousin or whomever is available is raising them.
Right.
So you see the self-use, they wear it. You see it from the minute they walk in the building. Yes. So, I am not a parent in the traditional sense, but I've had to play that role for so many that, you kind of do. When I first started teaching, I literally my mother was jumping out of my mouth. The things that and some of the things that she said to me when I was younger, I still say to them because it's just so comical, that, they get it, like if they leave a mess, I'm like, the maid, she doesn't work here, she quit, and they laugh, and they get it, and they're like, some of them are confused because they don't get it. They're like, there's a maid? Where? And some of the kids are like, no, you have to clean up your mess. It's not Miss Ryan's job. So, so the silly things like that, like, come out of my mouth. I'm like, oh, first time I said it, I was like, oh. So you have those moments. So it's kind of, I feel like, and I definitely have conversations with these ladies about, their children. It's kind of, you got to mix a little of the old school with the new school. You got to mix it and find your right balance, your right formula.
Right.
You know how, like, when you buy a perfume and one person buys it, like if it's a homemade one, and then another person buys it, it smells a little different, but they still like it. You gotta find what works for you and in what ratio.
The balance of it all.
There's some kids that need you to be on top of them, like right on their neck, like every day, and then you pull back. And then there's some kids where you just gotta sit and just talk to them real plain, because they just need that connection because they don't have anybody to talk to. They have all of this happening inside of them, and they don't know what to do with it. So to just have that person that they can talk to say, I'm feeling this way, or this is happening and I can't explain it, because some of them are very young and they're going crazy, they're lashing out, and they don't know what to do with themselves. Right. And I had a very difficult, and she knows I had a very difficult student because he was going through things because he couldn't do the work. He had a certain role when he was at home and then a different role when he was in school, and he just couldn't figure it out.
Wow.
This year, they found the right place for him. Good. He is nothing but smiles.
Wow.
Every time he sees me, he smiles at me and runs to me and hugs me and tells me he loves me.
Wow.
You know who I'm talking about.
No. Oh. I guess he can't say kids' names.
Yeah, I don't want to say his name.
For legal reasons.
They would come for me.
Okay, because we've had so many difficult students with that situation, so it's like, which one?
Wow.
Which one is
it? So, and then when you have children I'm like being so fidgety, but you have the children that eventually graduate, and sometimes you don't ever see them again. Right. But they come back and they say, I love you, I miss you.
Wow.
I think about you all the time. That's when that self-doubt has to go. Because you're doing something. Because sometimes, like she was saying, like you don't see the immediate effects of what you're doing. So you doubt yourself. You're like, am I doing this right? And then there's other people telling you, you're not doing it right.
Exactly.
You're not doing it right. Because they came in and they saw a snapshot. And you're like, well, I'm not doing this right. What am I doing? And you're killing yourself. And then it takes time for that results. With anything, it takes time for change to happen.
Right.
Absolutely.
So it's not till you have moments like that you realize I'm doing something right.
Right. Those are the moments that I feel like, God sends somebody to be like, you know what? Let me go tell my sis that, she is everything that she should be right now. You know what I mean? I feel like God does send those confirmations to us. And that's why they say, he doesn't come when you want him, but he is right on time, right? You wish he would have been there during those times that was difficult, right?
When I was crying, real tears.
Exactly. But you know what? But when you're going through and you're just kind of, affecting lives and then somebody just stops you, and they're like, you know what? Thank you. That's when you're like, okay, God, I see what you're doing up there, So Teresa, talk a little bit about, as a parent, and what you would do with your daughters to try to, do things a little differently, to try to avoid them from having self-doubt.
To be honest, I'm still a work in progress. I feel like that's something that I'm still currently working on.
Okay, yeah.
Because I feel like as a teacher, I think I'm more empathetic to those students than I am my own children.
Wow. Yeah.
And
Okay.
I think, we really had the turbulence between the divorce and me trying to figure it out caused me to be broken in a lot of ways that I don't think that I was pouring into them correctly.
Okay.
So now I'm trying to be a little bit more conscious of how I pour into them,
Okay.
especially with Jada. I feel that when Jada came, it was at a tough time, and I didn't necessarily fall in love with that baby when she came out. Like I think I said that, and plus, like, her relationship with her dad and how she's like a daddy's girl, kind of did something to my connection with her.
Wow. Okay.
So, now, like, I'm still working on it, like, not, because I could see her self-doubt.
Okay.
And I think it's because I am my mother.
Interesting.
So I'm trying to be more conscious of what I say, but I'm already rough at the mouth.
Right.
Naturally.
Right.
So it's just like, I have to, like, the things I say, because, when we were growing up, it was nothing.
Yeah.
Like, we didn't take it to heart and things like that. It was like, whatever, and we just kept it pushing. We didn't know we were taking it to heart. Maybe, let me just say
Yes.
that.
Yes.
Let's say we
Yes.
didn't know.
Right.
So we didn't feel it. So, like, how I discipline them, things, I don't feel like I pour enough into them.
Okay.
Or her as a teenager, which
Mhm.
I'm trying to do now, because I'm like, I have these expectations for her as my oldest, because look, it's just me and you guys, so I need you
Right.
to help me, not realizing that she's going through her own things on the inside, and they're a product of divorce, which I don't even know what's going on inside of them because of that. I had my father my whole life until the Lord called him home. So just trying to give her, I feel like I am hard on her. Madison is a little bit more laid back, so just trying to, like, encourage her more, to let her know that she can, because she does suffer from a lot of self-doubt.
Okay.
Madison, not so much. Madison's just more quiet and to herself right now. She's so much to herself that you don't even know what's going on inside her. They both
Gotcha.
going to therapy.
Yeah.
Like, honestly, because it was tough, and going through my emotions and trying to deal with that. I'm the youngest child, and like Katrina said, we weren't talked to about life. So when life hits us, we're like, what is
Yeah.
going on?
Yeah.
And honestly,
Even at this age.
saying prayer and wait for the Lord and stuff,
Yeah.
honestly wasn't enough.
Mm-hmm.
For
I agree.
I did that, I prayed, I fasted and stuff, but it didn't really do as much as it could have done at that moment. Like, now in my maturity, I know how to balance my emotions a little bit more, but during that time when I'm rearing them at the young age, I was so in my own emotions that I missed a lot of opportunities to pour into them, so they don't have that self-doubt.
I think as women, when we say we doubt ourselves as mother and as women, they see that and look at us, and I think they are our biggest cheerleaders. I think if the world is doing us dirty, when we come home, our kids will love us regardless. If we look crazy, if we look beautiful, if we look in between. And so sometimes I'm like, oh my God, I'm so, so what am I portraying to my daughter? You know what I'm saying? I understand there's days that we're gonna feel but then you gotta pick yourself up, and you gotta love yourself, even if you doubt it. No, you're doing a good job because you're there. If you weren't, you wouldn't be here, you wouldn't be there, you wouldn't be in the positions you are.
Right.
And so we
Right.
really have to, for me, for this year, is how I speak, what I speak into existence. So if I say I'm a failure and I'm never gonna own this, I'm never gonna do this, it's gonna become a routine,
Right.
and then I'm gonna start believing it, and then I'm gonna start creating it. I refuse. So I get up every morning, even if I'm not real happy where I'm at financially wise with my job or career wise with my job, someone is watching me all the time. If it's not a kid, if it's not a parent, if it's not my boss, if it's not her boss, somebody's watching me. So I have to give it my all.
Right.
And so I will speak into existence. I will own my own business. My daughter will be successful with or
Amen.
without her father, or without a male in this house. She will be successful because I said she will. Because God's going to do anything and everything I ask him. Since she was a little girl, he's going to bless her tenfold and more. So every day I get up and I'm going to claim it for my family and those around me, because when you're blessed, everyone connected to you are blessed.
Yeah.
And so we just have to
Connect.
really, yes, we really just have to. So if you're self-doubting yourself as a mother, like you said, when people are telling your girls are wonderful, doing great, even at home,
Everybody
they might
does
do
that.
the opposite, right? But knowing that you're doing that, you're taking care of those girls, and that is a reflection of you and what you're putting into their lives. So
Yeah,
no
and just
more self-doubt.
and just
You
know
can't do
that, you know, sometimes we're hard on ourselves as
Oh, yeah.
parents.
Absolutely.
But we are justified, and we did exactly what we should have done.
That's it.
But we just kind of second guess, and because there's no manual, you know, as a parent.
Yeah.
There's no manual.
I have a whole bunch
So
of
all we
parents
have is what's in our head, and you know, so you know that I always try to assure myself, you know what, Tisha, you might not have all the answers, but whatever you have right now,
Right
you are
now.
doing the best you can. You know, and so at the end of the day, yes, you're gonna make mistakes at the end of the day, but just know that, you know, you still have to pat yourself on the back and at least love yourself enough to be like, you know what, it's okay if I failed. Tomorrow, you know, and don't be afraid to apologize to your kids either. Like if you're wrong, you can't be that person that is afraid to
Yeah.
apologize
Yeah,
either.
I didn't know that.
You got to be humble. Yeah,
do.
you have to humble
Because
yourself.
when they see that, they're like, because in their minds, some children, they're like, adults think they're always right.
Exactly.
And some children either believe, yes, they are always
Yes.
right,
Yes.
or they feel like you just there's a plug somewhere at night and you just go and you pull out and you just plug yourself in. And once they humanize you, they shift in how they see you,
I
how they
agree.
interact with you.
I agree.
Absolutely.
And you wanna- mhm.
And honestly, if you really if I think about it, I didn't know my mother's mistakes until I was an adult through
yeah.
adult conversation.
Yes.
Mhm.
Yes.
When I was going through my own stuff, she would say, like when I bought my house, she said, "Oh, I wish I did this,"
Yeah.
or "I wish I did that." Like
Wow.
now it's coming up.
Wow.
But my parents are so old school that
It's
You
almost
kind of
like
just just went with it.
passed down from generation. The brokenness passed down. I think we're the generation of knowledge. So I think we have more access to knowledge, and so we're trying to do better. So I don't. We have the wisdom, the knowledge to do better.
And we have the confidence.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, because
Yes.
I feel like even growing up
in a West Indian home.
it was like children shall be seen and not heard.
Yes.
But there was a
Yes.
certain point in my childhood where I was like, yo, I will be heard.
Mm.
And I'm going to ask those tough questions. Or I'm going to ask those questions you are not ready for me to ask. And you better have an answer because I'm going to keep asking you until you answer me. And they came from that same generation where it's you shall be seen and not heard. So there's a lot of conversations, like you were saying, that haven't been had.
Right.
You know, so we're gaining so much knowledge now as adults from our parents because we're having those conversations.
Absolutely.
And, you know, my mind is continuously blown with the information I learned about my parents because it just wasn't discussed because nobody asked
Nobody talked about it.
and nobody talked about it.
And let me tell you, I personally,
Mhm.
like, to be honest, I didn't have that backbone to be able to ask any questions. That was me growing up. Between me and my younger sister, she was more of the person that stood up for herself. You know, she was the one that they thought, quote unquote, talk back, but she was just standing up for herself.
Yeah.
You know, she just wanted to be heard. And as a result, she had to deal with a lot more than I did. I kind of was just like, well, okay, let that be her. You know, I kind of was just like, you know, in the background, like, let me just do what they say because I just don't want to, you know, I just don't want the issues.
Right.
But I see how, you know, as an adult, I'm completely different as an adult. You know, now I'm standing up for myself, but it took a while. It took for me to learn that. I
me
had
too.
to learn that. Whereas my sister has kind of, and younger sister at that, has kind of always been, she's always had that strength in her. And I've admired that in her, and I kind of learned from her. It's funny, I'm a little older, but I've learned from watching her, I've learned from watching her mistakes too. And I'm sure she's learned from watching my mistakes, but it's just ironic that, the dynamics, in the house and how it all works out and how you manifest into the person you're supposed to be and who inspires you to do that and who you're looking at, you know what I mean? So, but as we go ahead and wrap it up, let's just kind of talk about some closing remarks in conclusion. 2019 is here. So what is a goal that you would like to work on for 2019? As far as like eliminating self-doubt or just working through it or continuing to work through it. I'll start off with you, Alana.
I really believe that you really gotta sip your own tea. Mm-hmm. Like you really, like when I look at not like comparing myself to them, but like learning lessons from them. Like when you look at celebrities, like singers and actors, there comes a point where you have to say to yourself, I'm good at this. I do this well. I can get better, but where I'm at right now, I'm doing it very well.
Nice.
And whatever it is that you do, you have to start sipping your own tea and believing in believing in that talent or that skill that you have. Because if you don't sip your own tea, ain't nobody else gonna sip it.
Amen. That's
because
so true.
There has to be a point where you have to believe.
Right.
Yes, it's great to have the support, to have the people there backing you up. But if you don't even have that concept in your mind that I am great, I am greatness. And some people are like, well, that's just arrogance. No, it's not. Because there's no way for you to improve if you don't believe you're good at it.
Amen.
Because if you constantly feel that you are horrible at something, that's where you're going to stay.
Yes. Exactly.
So you have to at some point believe I'm amazing at this.
Right.
And I can continue to improve, but I'm good at this.
That's awesome. Thank you for sharing. What about you, KP?
Jeez, that was enough said. Piggyback off of that, sipping on my own cup of tea. But for me, it's continue my therapy. For me, is waking up every day and confessing over myself that I'm good enough. I'm going to be great. I will be great. Where I'm at now is where I need to be. And if it's to continue helping people further their career, if it's to become a better mother, whatever it may be, I'm here. And I'm going to be present while I speak what I need in my future. And I will speak it every day until it comes forth. If I'm 50 years old and it comes forth, it comes forth. But I will continue to love on me. I will continue to take care of me. I will continue to say no. And I will continue to rise. Even when I fall, I'm going to rise.
Amen.
I will rise again.
Amen. Teresa?
Yes.
I think at this point right now, at this moment, I'm okay as far as self-doubt, because I'm learning to be more honest with myself.
Okay.
So, it's okay to have, moments, and Google's my friend, and the information is out there that I need. So, I do want to go to therapy for myself and my children, even though they're doing okay, just to make sure they're okay.
Right.
In my career, I feel like now in January, I'm comfortable in my role. It's just whether this is what I want to do, because I am at the point where I'm, like she said, I know I'm good in education. That's my thing. That's my calling.
Me too.
And nobody can take that from me. I
Right.
think I've proven that.
Yep.
And to stop comparing myself, because you know what I do? I count my blessings.
Gotcha.
And if I look at myself at my young age, because I'm still young.
Yes,
You know, I've accomplished a lot. And, this is my success. No, I don't have the husband and the Real Housewives of Atlanta life and the riches and stuff like that. But I'm rich in my spirit. My children are fed. We're doing all right,
Right.
And life is a learning process. There's going to be ups, there's going to be downs. And every experience, learn from it. And like she said, to end it, 2019, I'm minding my business.
Yeah.
Like,
Yes.
that's none of my business.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So,
So thank you, ladies. You know, we're just, I'm grateful that you guys, you know, are sharing your perspective, and thank you everyone for listening. We're going to post, you know, some more videos on different topics, but thank you for watching.